control the vertigo.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your hosts, Mark. Today we're talking about a TV series, quite an unusual one, called Law. It's an anthology docu-series is how it's put. It's kind of semi-documentary, semi-recreated footage, and I say documentary, you know. It's acting as a documentary, let's put it that way. It looks like a documentary. Now, this is based on a podcast, interestingly, a podcast called Law, a very successful podcast, exploring things like folklore, legends, historical events, and often on the more unusual or horrific side, which is kind of up our street. And I guess this podcast was so successful they converted it into an Amazon Prime series. It was the original podcast hosted by Aaron Mahnke. I think I'm saying that correctly. It's spelled Mahnke. And he continues the narration into the TV series. Yeah. It first released, because the entire sets of episodes dropped. It was 2 seasons. The first season's first dropped on October the 13th, 2017, 6 episodes, and the second season dropped on October the 19th, 2018, so 1 year later, again 6 episodes, so 12 in all, and I believe there are no more in planned. I guess possibly COVID interrupted the possible scheduling and stuff like that. Now, okay, so all I watched is the first episode, and so my thoughts about the seasons will probably be based around those. The first episode is called They Made a Tonic, directed by Donald Martin, written by Jeff Eckerly and Marilyn Osborne. It's, interesting one. Now, it did start with a fair bit of heavy narration and stuff that really wasn't about the story. It was setting up a mood, setting up a tone, and I appreciate that. I found Aaron Mahnke, the delivery worked because it was fairly serious. It wasn't quite monotone, but it was kind of low and slow speaking. And this one was set around... the whole premise initially was how people didn't really understand diseases. They thought it was the bad air. It talks about the London Plague, for example. It was the bad air, or putrefying corpses caused the disease. I mean, we know better now. We know germ theory and stuff like that. But back then, it was unknown. But people were trying to take measures to combat this. Now, this is set in New England in the 1800s. And their consumption to tuberculosis was taking a heavy toll on the population. It slowly sort of worked through families or, populations in a village. And it focuses on one family where the father is purported to be, though he's not a religious man, he prays that his family will be safe, and they mostly are. But then it starts to focus on one particular case. And then there's a suggestion. One man talks about someone in his family is died, but coming back and possibly claiming the rest of the family. And then this man is kind of the centre of this discussion, and he doesn't believe it. He thinks it's superstitious nonsense. But why take a chance? That is the general argument imposed on him again and again. Why take a chance? And there it then propagates into, going and exhuming and seeing the corpse still looks fairly fresh. However, this is in the middle of winter, frozen ground. It's, the frost is the thing that preserves. Now, when it first started, I thought the narration was a bit overbearing. It felt like it was intrusive when it started getting into the sort of dramatised sections. However, this quickly tailed off and it became a full drama. And it got better at that point. It actually got better in the sort of last 2/3 quite significantly once the narration tailed off. Because it kept taking you out of the drama of the documentarian style, I guess. Even though, I say documentary, it was a drama. It was a straight drama at a certain point. And the arguments were, well, we need to dig her up and check. And then it was, well, now we have to take out the heart and see if the blood's flowing, because if the blood's flowing, that indicates life. But in fact, it's not flowing, it's all frozen. So it seems to me that they were just checking a frozen corpse in the end. And, that had a dramatic implication on the father, who had to basically feel a feeling of desecration of his daughter's body, which is a bit rough, really. But there is some wild speculation towards the end where perhaps this was the basis of the belief about vampires, and perhaps it was an inspiration for Bram Stoker when he was writing. Perhaps. No. It's maybe he maybe read something about it, but I doubt it. I quite enjoyed the drama of it once the narration kind of ebbed away. It was okay, is the best I could put it. It was kind of serious, and I may watch more of these. It's on Amazon Prime, but it didn't grab me. It didn't. I didn't feel impelled to continue watching it anymore after this. But I may do. Interestingly, the producer is Gail Ann Hurd, who was famous for sort of being the producer on a lot of James Cameron's smashes, Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss. So it's interesting. It says developed by, actually. It doesn't say producer, but I presume she was a producer on it. And apparently Aaron Mankey only narrates in season 1, so it's possible they dropped the whole narration thing, which kind of... I don't know, it's quite good for setting the scene in a Twilight Zone kind of way, but it just, when it intrudes into the actual story, it keeps intruding into the story. It didn't work for me. It got some good reviews. It's some critics said things like, the only negative I can find about this series is there aren't more episodes. It's that good. And then IGN said, it's a wonderful piece of entertainment for horror fans and casual viewers alike to learn more about the monster we saw. You know what? I may watch more of this. I'm kind of always interested in urban legends. Urban legends fascinate me. I've got a lot of books about them, and I've done a lot of reading about them. So actually, this might grab me. There is, I think, a Danish or Swedish series that kind of intrudes on the same ground that I remember doing very early on in Anthologic. But that was a bit more horrific. Though this is adult in tone. Cutting open a body and pulling out a heart is not a child's thing. So, bear that in mind. It's a sort of adult piece of work. Yeah, interesting one. And I was kind of torn whether to throw it in with Anthologic or not, being a docu-series, but actually after watching it, it's totally in the wheelhouse of Anthologic, so that's fine. Okay, I am going to stop there, but before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to